Okay, everybody, hello. I got a question for you. How many of you here get a gas bill every month? Okay, so that's everybody. How many of you want to see that gas bill go up by 300 to 1,000%? Yeah, probably not. Okay, so just to let you know that we have this Bernhard Capital Partners wants to buy our essential utility, the gas company. And they recently, as of I think last June or July, bought a gas company in Louisiana. And guess what happened to those customers in Louisiana this past December? They opened up their bills and they were astronomical. They had huge inflation on the cost of the gas, and then they had a bunch of fees that had been added on. So part of what we were trying to do last December when y'all came up and gave wonderful testimony, again, thank you. You gave testimony at the PRC. We wanted them to reopen so that we could look at the business practices of this Bernhard Capital Partners. And they denied that motion. So this information comes out, and in January, I think 21st or 22nd, we, again, put a motion in front of the PRC to reopen this case so we can get this information on record, because that's what they've been denying us. So we want to do that. We want to reopen this case, and we need your help to do that. And the way that we're going to do that is we are going to send our public comments to the website of the PRC. Now, it's a little bit complicated, but if you sign up here, if you take out your phones and you do that little QR code, you can rest assured that I will send you emails with how we're going to do that. We are either going to have to go through the process of their website, or we will do an online petition. They just recently changed how we give public comment, and they're making us go through their website, and it is daunting. That's one way. You can do it, but it's really kind of a mess. And if they were looking to keep people from making public comment, I think they found it. So we are going to try and do some workarounds around that, and then we're also going to be looking at getting a petition out there. So, and the other part of this that we need to do is that anything that we do, we are going to share with the AG's office, with Raul Torres's office, because he opposes this, and we want to give him all of our comments so that he will have the evidence that he can take to the PRC saying, all of these people have contacted me, and they don't want this either. So if you haven't taken out your phone, please do that right now, and it's going to be actually pretty simple. It's going to be, we're going to have talking points for you. You'll write up a little something, and you'll send it on. Basically, what we're telling them is that there's a lot of people out here who don't want this essential utility to be owned by private equity, especially private equity that's going to rape and pillage. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a Google form. It's not a website. It's a Google form so that I can get the information out to you. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Thursday, the PRC. Oh, okay. Oh, and then there's the article should be coming out soon. Their article, in my article about private equity, op-ed.
These are different things, so that we're getting to that one. We're getting to that one. I know it's you know what, I've been thinking about this, and it's all very complicated, but at the very basics part of this, it's very simple, because what they're doing is they're trying to squeeze every last penny out of us and put us in a tight spot, and they get rich.
Okay, changing gears real quickly, and then Sandy's going to be back up with actions for the next thing. So, I have in my hand an early draft of a research report prepared by Ethos Research on Blackstone. And what they've done is some deep research that's found out some things about Blackstone. And as we all recall, Blackstone is who's trying to buy P&M. And that's what we're going to go give public testimony about on Thursday, and Sandy's going to get to that in just a second. But I want to read you some things that I thought I knew a lot about Blackstone, but I want to read you some things I never knew. In December 2024, New Mexico State Treasurer Laura Montoya penned a letter to Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwartzman expressing concern over child labor violations at Blackstone-owned companies. Earlier that year, the U.S. Department of Labor found that more than 100 children aged 13 to 17 were working in hazardous jobs at Packers Sanitation Services, a Blackstone-owned food sanitation company that works across 8 states. According to the Department of Labor, the children were working with hazardous chemicals to clean meat processing equipment that included razor-sharp back saws, brisket saws, and head splitters. At least 3 children suffered injuries. The Department of Labor characterized these appalling practices as systemic and a corporate-wide failure by Packers Sanitation Services at all levels. Remember, Blackstone owns that company. One DOL official said, Packers Systems flagged some young workers as minors, but the company ignored the flags. When the Wage and Hour Division arrived with warrants, the adults who had recruited, hired, and supervised these children tried to derail our efforts to investigate their employment practices. So what happened? They were found guilty, and they paid a $1.5 million fine. But that year, Blackstone paid $297 million to its investors in dividends. So $1.5 million is just doing business. It's a miscellaneous expense to somebody like Blackstone. So the report goes into more examples about how they've robbed patients who went to healthcare facilities owned by Blackstone, how they had found many violations of SEC's practices, Securities and Exchange Commission, and on and on and on. So, Sandy, what are we doing about this?
Well, I need the QR code. I don't see the QR code up there. No, there we go. Yeah, let's just do this. Next one. Yeah, there we go. And then, move us out of the way. All right. I know, poor Tig. Thank you. So the PRC is going to be our friend. We're going to make friends with them, and we are going to, well, actually, no, we're not. No. We are going to be a pain in their side. Or some other place. Yeah, I'm keeping it PC here. So anyway, this is what Michelle was talking about and what Leandra was talking about on the 5th. So in just 3 days, on Thursday, we're going to meet out at the PRC. It's here in town on Osuna. And if you do that QR code, I will get you talking points, and I will give you all of this information again, and I will send you reminders so that you are out there. We are going to have one of our big signs, and we're going to do a photo op, and we're going to do it with the environmental justice of the Democratic Caucus. So why is this important? It's really because our energy future is on the line. Blackstone is just an enormous company, and what they're really looking to do is not only have the monopoly of our energy, they are going to have the entire supply chain tied up. And there's just going to be nothing that we're going to be able to do to extricate ourselves from that if we let this go forward. So now is our time. The cavalry isn't coming. We are the cavalry. We are the cavalry. So even if you can't make this particular meeting, please sign up, because what we want to do is like I said, we're going to be a pain in their side. We are going to show up at every open meeting, and we're going to say, stop it. This is not okay. You are selling us down the river, and that's not acceptable. So it's going to be a sustained and ongoing campaign that we're going to be doing both around BCP, what I talked about before, and Blackstone.
Sandy is like the best organizer extraordinaire, getting us all these tools to help us put up this fight. Yes. Yes. Well, I don't know if. Oh, the question is, will this also be the hearing on the 5th? Will it be on Zoom so people can give their comments there? And the answer, as far as I know, I haven't checked, but it should be yes, because last time in October when we gave comment about BCP, it was. And there were a lot of us that gave comment online. So that would be great. I will get that information out. You sign up, I will get that information to you. Yes. Senate Memorial 9. Oh, yes. So this is legislatively that we've got Senate Bill number 9. Harold Pope has introduced that. And what we are asking the PRC to do, well, first of all, understand this is a memorial and it has no teeth, but the legislature is the one who funds the PRC. So we are asking them to pass this memorial that will ask the PRC to wait while a study is being done to see if it would be better to go the private equity route, which is being suggested and actually pursued right now, or if we should have state-owned utilities. Okay, one more question. Yeah. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So that particular memorial is in rules right now, and to go to nmlegis.gov and ask those members to pass that memorial. Thank you.
SM9.
Senate Memorial 9. Okay. And this report, when some of the typos get fixed and it's final, within the week, will be in the newsletter, on the website, and we ask that you spread it everywhere. There'll be a press release. We'll ask you to come attend the press release. But there's some dastardly deeds going on.
I'm so sorry. I forgot. There's a very important piece of this, is that part of this ongoing campaign is we are going to ask you all to write postcards. And it isn't one postcard. We're going to ask you to take 50, 100, 200, and we're going to do what CD2 has done, Blue CD2 has done, and we're going to send them to northern New Mexico because we are the folks that are going to be affected most by this buyout of Blackstone, and we're going to get everybody educated and involved so that we have just this massive pushback against what's going on.
We the people. Okay, next slide. All right, you guys all got the memo? March 28th, No Kings 3 rally. Ray Ellen, where's it going to be? I don't know. What time does it start? I don't know. Where do we park? I really don't know. We will know all this very soon. The committee just had one meeting, and we have another one on Thursday, and we'll keep you posted as soon as we know. But in the meantime, we need money. It's going to cost a lot. We're expecting 40 to 50,000 people. We got to have a really big sound system. So if you can spare $5 or 500, hit the code. You know what to do. And we'll be talking about it a lot. Next slide. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's money. Leave the code up. Okay. Okay, any more phones up? Wait. We'll wait for the money. Probably $20,000. You're going to see that a lot. You will see that a lot. Okay, just know that we're not the only group in this fight. We've got, I think it's 9, 10 different groups helping us plan this thing, and all of their folks will be coming too, but we are going to need to raise some money. You know anybody with deep pockets? Please send them the code. Okay, next slide. Sign up for Peacekeeper training. So we finally got a date for this. February 28th here at the Lobo Theater, starts at 9 a.m., lasts all day. Breakfast and lunch will be provided. Freedom Trainers, which is a national organization, is coming to do this training for us. If you can participate as a peacekeeper at the big rally, at the little rallies, know how to use Signal, we will give you lovely green vests, and we will provide you with radios at every event. So, yeah, peacekeeper training is important. We need more. Any phones out? Just making sure. Okay, this was in the newsletter too. I think we already had sign-ups of about 40 people. We've got room for 100, so there's it'll be shared to other groups tomorrow. Go ahead. Next slide, Tig. How to help the families. So we talked about this last week. This is to help the families get food, diapers, pay electric bills for families that have been impacted by ice. Oh, I'm not on the dot. Sorry, Tig. Thank you. This was also in the newsletter and will be. So this anything you can give to help these families is really great. Okay. All right. Next slide. HB 99 call tonight. No, that was last week, so you can skip that. We did that. Upcoming speakers. Next week we have what grassroots activists need to know about New Mexico State Attorney General's office. February 16th. Hot off the press. Joining Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen will be gubernatorial candidate Deb Haaland. February 16th. February 23rd, Javier Benavides will be here, Coalition for a Safer Albuquerque. And Sandy was talking about public power, and we'll have a speaker about that. Alicia Shaw will be here March the 2nd. So that's who we've got lined up for the next 4 weeks. Check your newsletter as usual. Sometimes things change. But the Deb Haaland thing happened about 3 p.m. this afternoon. It's pretty exciting. Fresh off the press.
So all of the folks who are signed up for Water Warriors, there is, and now it's going to escape me, I will be sending out an alert tonight because that's what it is. Produced water is back at the legislature. What? Yes. It's it's HB 207, and I'm going to send out an alert. We need to get on it. We're going to be asking Kathleen Cates and Matthew McQueen to vote against it and make sure that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the Water Quality Commission, Control Commission, be irrelevant. And they're just going to make them, make this rule to allow this produced water to be spilled everywhere.
No. Okay. Our speaker's coming up. Next slide, I think. Well, you know the schedule, you know the calendar. No big changes here this week. Tomorrow is our 51st. It's our 1-year anniversary. It's our 1-year anniversary of our protests at Lomas and 4th. 1 solid year. We've been out there every single Tuesday for a year. Come celebrate with us. It's pretty great. All right. And you can see the rest of the schedule. Next slide. All right, Juan, Sanchez, and then Jonas, and then Rachel, we're over to you. So Juan, come on.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all again. My name is Juan de Jesus Sanchez III. I am a candidate for New Mexico State Land Commissioner. I actually came and saw you all back in June, I believe. And I've heard from a few of you all how you enjoyed the energy that I brought. I've had a baby since then, where she's 3 months old. So, I'm running on 4.5 hours of sleep. So I want to give you all I got. I can't promise that it's going to be what it was back in June, though. So like I said, my name is Juan de Jesus Sanchez. I'm a 13th generation New Mexican from a ranching family in Valencia and Socorro counties. I grew up hunting, hiking, fishing, working the land just like the generations before me. So now I'm running for New Mexico State Land Commissioner because it is crucial at this time that we protect our land, not only for today, but for generations to come. So what I'm trying to do is talk about how important our land is. It is where we work and play. It's where we connect with nature. It's where our communities have been gathering for centuries. But it also generates billions of dollars for things like public education, water projects, medical institutions, and so much more. But the thing we need to remember more than anything, especially in these times, is it belongs to New Mexico to benefit New Mexicans. And we cannot be selling off our land to the highest bidder because that's what the Trump administration wants to do right now. So we need to make sure we have a strong land commissioner in there with ties to the land and that is going to fight for this land. And that's who I want to be for you. What I'm trying to do is bring together my professional experience, which is working for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as a natural resource specialist doing restoration projects at places like Cochiti Lake, where the Army Corps of Engineers went in and destroyed sacred sites, destroyed all these different beautiful habitat. And I did restoration projects there, working with the tribe to try and bring back the native plants that were there and the wildlife that was there before so that things can start to heal. I worked for the New Mexico Acequia Commission, focusing on water, culture, and ag, making sure that we are nothing without our clean water. And then the last 5 years, I've worked for U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich as his political director, traveling the state and making sure we have good people in office from soil and water conservation districts in Silver City to county commission seats in Taos County. These are the places that make a ton of difference. So I went across the state, met with people, and tried to find people to run for office and help them out through their process. And I'm trying to bring that professional experience and mesh it together with my lived experience, my generational knowledge, and my passed down experience. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about the kind of things that, I grew up on a ranch, and we grazed cattle on state trust land, right? My grandfather taught me about this. My grandfather gave me an early lesson at 3 or 4 years old when I was on a hill across the road, and we rolled a rock down the hill, and he said, okay, go pick it up and put it back where you found it. We leave things the way that they were better than when we found it. And that's core to who I am. That's core to what I'm trying to bring to this office. I also want to make sure that we're thinking about making sure that we are using our lands in not only a way that we look at our land as dollar signs on a spreadsheet or lines on a map. Our land is so much more important than that. The goal of the land office constitutionally is to make money for education, and it does a really good job of that. But I think if we don't look at a long-term way to protect our lands and make sure we're able to continue to enjoy them, then in 20 years, we're not going to be able to make that money. And you know what's even worse? Our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids aren't going to have those same opportunities that we did that made us who we are. Here in New Mexico, we are so rich in our land, we're rich in our culture, and those things deserve to be protected. This is personal for me. Like I told you, I was raised on a ranch where we grazed cattle on state trust land. Every year, I go out and hunt on state trust land to try and feed my family. There's no safer deer than the one I'm hunting with a bow, but that I still have the opportunity to go out and hunt on that land, just like the generations before me. I want my daughter to have that opportunity. I want her children to have those opportunities to go out and enjoy these things. And the other thing we need to start thinking about is how we diversify our economy. Right now, 97% of the money that comes in from the land office is from oil and gas, essentially. 3% is from renewables. So we need to find a way. We are blessed with renewable opportunities, whether that be solar, transmission, or wind. We really need to take advantage of that opportunity. And right now that the Trump administration is going after renewables, and our BLM lands are not being able to be used for that because he's increasing the rates to make them impossible, we need someone to come up and be able to say, hey, we are going to be a champion for renewable energy here because our climate needs that. And we did a forum a while back and with our Republican opponent, and he's talking about raising royalty rates on renewables. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at if we get a Republican in this seat, right? Yes. So right now, I am so proud to be running. This has been such a long road already, but we are getting ready to turn in our signatures tomorrow to try and qualify for the ballot. If you haven't already, I'm walking around with a clipboard. So is Jonas. I know Representative McQueen had someone here walking around with a clipboard. You can only sign one, but we'd love to have your support. And I do need to clarify something that was said at this meeting last week. I got a few calls from folks here in the audience that told me that someone from the representatives team said that Stephanie Garcia Richard, our current land commissioner, has endorsed Matthew McQueen. That is not the case. I spoke with her. She said that is not the case. So I just want to clarify that all to you all, that is not the case. But I'm very proud of the people that I have supporting me. I have U.S. Senator, and I ask you to join them. I ask you to join U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich. I ask you to join Congressman Gabe Vasquez. I ask you to join an organization called Climate Cabinet that goes around the country to find highly important races for climate and got behind me. So please, if you can, check out my website, sign my petition, tell your friends about this. And one very important thing, this Saturday is the pre-primary convention for the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County. If you live here, you can go onto the Bernalillo County website and you can become a delegate to decide how we make the ballot, what order our names are in order on the ballot. It's a crucial part of democracy, and we'd love to have you there. So once again, Juan de Jesus Sanchez for Land Commissioner. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you for coming. And now our second candidate for Land Commissioner.
Hey, good evening, everybody. You are just getting all the land commissioners tonight. And you know what? I think the leading up to this is appropriate, right? We're talking about land. We're talking about the values of the land. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the values of Jonas Moya. My name is Jonas Moya. I'm from Tucumcari, New Mexico. I'm a fourth-generation rancher and former Biden-Harris appointee. I come from an extremely small community. I come from a community where I went to K through 12 with less than 100 kids. So when it comes down to making sure you have a backbone and standing up for what you believe in, it better be very tight and strong, because you got to hold your ground in those small spaces. And I grew up with that, right? I grew up in a very red part of the state. And I was a sole lonely Democrat out there with my family. My mom, my uncles always there supporting me. And it was very difficult. But I saw the perspective of everybody, and I stood my ground, because the values of the Democratic Party have always been the values of my family and the values that I fight for today, because of what Trump and his administration is doing. And I got to see what good politics are and good policies are working for the Biden-Harris administration. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where ethics were held at the highest standard and corruption was dismissed. We wanted a fair political system. We wanted it to get to yes for the people, and that's what we did. So I was the state executive director of the Farm Service Agency, where I had 74 employees. I had 22 different field offices, and every day we worked to get to yes. We worked to get to yes when there was a drought, when there was a fire, when there was an uncontrollable hailstorm that the farmers just totally wiped out their crops. So I had field agents out there making sure that we were able to at least get them a little bit of money to get them through those disasters. And then the second part of that was I worked to get to yes to make sure that we have food for our future. And I seen that firsthand. And this is a story I'm going to share with you, and how I really got my fire ignited for policy, civic engagement, and going out there and working with our legislators and working with our communities. A couple years back, when I was just kind of out of graduate school, I was attending some great community conversations. I was working for New Mexico First. Melanie Stansberry was our state house rep, and we were meeting at the food banks talking about what we would later see as COVID, talking about the broken supply chain systems, talking about how small farmers from our neighborhoods are going to be the ones that allow us to have healthy, safe, nutritious food in our grocery stores. And those are the things that I have fought for later on. And I've been so lucky and blessed to kind of move through my career path of working for New Mexico First, leading the agricultural organization, and then leading the main funding for FSA through the last 3.5 years with the Biden-Harris administration. So I want to take that same momentum, those same lived experiences, that same backbone of that rural New Mexico kid that said, you know what, I'm proud to be a Democrat. I'm proud to work for people that don't always have a voice, and I'm proud to stand up for what's right. So I want to take that same skills, that same desire, and that same focus to the land office because we are under attack. And you're going to hear it millions of times, and it doesn't matter what candidate it is, whether it's Secretary of State, other land commissioners, or gubernatorial candidates, Trump is coming after us. And I'm so proud to be with so many people that are standing up every day to fight against that. I'm truly impressed because it is no easy feat to meet every day for a year and have a rally. It is no easy feat to have an amazing crowd come and show up every week on a Monday when you're exhausted. So I applaud you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. And I'm really impressed on the amount of members that you do have. And I'm proud to say I did join earlier. I got my pin, and I'm ready to go. So thank you guys so much. Hope to have your support. Sign as many petitions as you can for other candidates. They need the help as well. If you're not supporting us, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just how fortunate are we to have such well-qualified candidates? Remember, sign petitions, and thank you both for coming. Just really, really grateful. Thank you. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave. Whatever you choose. You're okay. Go. Okay, understand. All right. Our keynote speaker tonight. I'm sorry, Barbara. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Right. So remember that the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County is having the mega ward meeting this Saturday at UNM Continuing Education Center. Sarah, what time does it start? 11? Doors open at 10:30. Thank you, Kathy, Vice Chair. Yay. Okay, and the candidates will be there. I'm running to be a delegate to the SCC so that I can help make the decision about how the ballot's going to be ordered, really important. So hopefully you're going to come and become a delegate, and then you can vote for people to become delegates to the state convention. I think that's how it works. Gets a little confusing. Okay, so we're very lucky tonight to have as our keynote speaker Rachel Feldman. Rachel is a member of Indivisible SOS up in Santa Fe and has been working on criminal justice issues for 6 or 7 years and has some really interesting and intriguing ideas. So she's here to tell us what all that's about. Rachel, over to you. Thank you. Try to stay on the X. Nope, you just need to talk and hold it close.
Hold it close. Okay. Hi, everybody. I am not in disguise, and I am not a Republican, but I did come from the legislature this afternoon where the Senate Finance Committee passed HB 9. So on to the Senate floor where there'll be a horrible filibuster, and they'll be up all night. But it's going to pass. In any case, I have been studying. I'm retired. I have a 50-year career in healthcare. When I came to New Mexico, I thought, well, I want to learn something new, and there was crime and all kinds of crazy stuff, and I thought, well, I'll see what I can find out about that. And so I've been basically digging around in the criminal justice system for the last 6, 7, 8 years, trying to figure out how the legislature works, trying to figure out how state government works. Because I moved here 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, and I never was in a place that worked the way New Mexico works, or doesn't work, as the case may be. Often it doesn't work. So I often experiment. I go to the legislature, and I don't look like the other people running around the place, except they have a dress code, so I usually fit their dress code. And today I was talking to Republicans because I need them to sign on to a piece of legislation that I wrote. It's a House memorial, and it has to pass with one committee, but with a unanimous vote. Okay, those are the rules. Then it goes to the floor, and it can pass with a majority, which is really not a problem. But so I have a committee with House Judiciary Committee with 4 Republicans, and I just got one to sponsor it. So she put her name on the bill, and I got 2 others to sign on. Tomorrow I'm going to track down the 4th Republican, and I'm hell-bent on getting this passed. So, what am I doing? Indivisible SOS, we've had a committee. We call it the Civil Rights and Criminal Justice Reform Committee. We also call it the Good Trouble Committee because we do a lot of troublemaking. We have interviewed probably, hundreds and hundreds of people in law enforcement and in the criminal justice system. And sort of pulled all that information together. I think I've audited every Judiciary Committee meeting and the interim committee meetings and talked with lots and lots of legislators, trying to figure out what they think, how they think things work, how things really work. And you know what? When you ask people how they think things work, it doesn't mean they work that way. In fact, you have to investigate because typically people think things work a particular way and they don't. And they don't have a clue. The theme of the Judiciary Committees in the interim this year, the Courts, Corrections, and Justice Committee hearings, the theme was laws don't get implemented. Laws don't get enforced. We keep making all these laws and none of them get implemented or enforced. Guess what? That was a surprise to them. I found that out about 3 or 4 years ago. Big time. So now they're aware of it, and they're like, well, why do we make laws if nobody's going to follow them? Good question, right? So again this year, they have 30 or 40 new crimes they want to invent and new penalties they want to impose. And not one of those things is going to have any effect on anybody. Because the system, the criminal justice system, is not set up to enforce or implement those laws. So what happened, I wrote and passed some oversight laws a few years ago, and they've never been implemented. The governor appointed me to a committee, a task force, or whatever they call it, to implement the law, and we couldn't implement it because the Department of Public Safety would not put the things in place for us to function. So when I asked a lot of questions about that, they decided I was term limited and took me off the commission. So I'm no longer on that board, but it's also not doing anything. But lessons learned. There are really complicated problems in the criminal justice system. You see a lot of them probably in this neighborhood and other places around town. I live up in the hills in Santa Fe, so I don't have direct contact with a lot of the crime that goes on. But I see it when I drive around, and I read about it in the paper every day, and I hear about it in the legislature. And I hear about it from political candidates like Sam Bregman, who want to make a big deal about, act tough about it. So what we started to do in the last year was to study it as a system. What I found was everybody lives in a corner of the system. If they're a cop, they live in their police agency. If they're in the DA's office, that's where they hang out. They kind of know how that works. If they're in the courts and one or another of the courts, that's what they know. If they're in a prevention program, that's what they know. But nobody that I have met yet knows what anything else how anything connects. to anything else. So that was my first red flag. If no one knows how their work connects to anybody else's work, how does anything work? And so we have huge dismissal rates. We have most people that are arrested for crimes get no consequences, do no jail time, do no anything. They just are released. They may spend a night in jail and then they're released. Most people that are actually taken into the system and arrested don't end up getting charged. Most people who get charged don't end up getting prosecuted. Most people who get prosecuted end up not getting convicted or not getting sentenced to a very long sentence. Or you have crazy things like the shooting in Albuquerque that occurred when someone was shooting through legislators' houses. That person got an 80-year sentence, right? Then a person who shot and killed someone, an indigenous person in Española, got 4 years. So what kind of sense does that make? It doesn't really make any sense. So we have almost hardly anybody goes through the system and gets the quote-unquote equal justice under the law that they should get. That makes sense. That would make sense to us as voters, as citizens. But all sorts of other things go on, and we have this huge revolving door of people who are picked up for petty misdemeanors, go in and out of the system, keep getting arrested, and then they get more dangerous, and they get more violent, and they turn in, they get into very serious trouble and cause a lot of harm. And it keeps going on. There are people in some parts of the state who've been arrested 100 or more times in 1 year. So where do you live if you're arrested 100 times during the year? You pretty much live at the county jail. That's where your life is. You go in and out. In Santa Fe, our jail is off a main road. They release people at 4 in the morning, and they can't get anywhere. There's no buses or anything. They walk down the major road, and they get hit by a car and killed. We've had a whole bunch of people killed when they're released for nothing in the middle of the night. Why do you release people in the middle of the night? Beats me. There's a lot of very strange behavior. So, slide. Okay, so I have some very simple pictures here. Basically, you have this criminal justice system, which includes all of these things I've been talking about. And it leaks. It's supposed to produce public safety. It's supposed to produce justice, equal treatment under the law. But actually what it does is it produces a whole lot of crime because it's not producing public safety or justice. It's recycling people through a kind of crazy system, and they end up committing more crimes. Next slide. The line of prevention that goes through there is hypothetical. If you had prevention programs, they might prevent crime. But we don't have too many prevention programs. They're not adequately funded, and they're not where they need to be. What happened to the slide? Is that it? No words on it? I don't know. I just do basic PowerPoint. I don't build things. All right. Okay, so let me identify some of the key leaks in the system, things that cause the leaks in the system. Number one, there isn't much in the way of prevention. So you can have prevention at the community level. The law enforcement and prosecutors can divert people into treatment programs and other kinds of programs, but they don't. I mean, they do sometimes here and there, but by and large, they don't really use the services that are there that they could route people into. Why? Largely because there aren't enough of them. They're understaffed, they have high vacancy rates, they're not trained, and so they don't use the services that are there. So we don't have a prevention system. You can also have diversion programs in the DA's office, in the courts. So when a judge or a DA thinks that a person is amenable to benefiting from services, they can basically suspend charging them or taking them to court and say, well, if you go to this program, we won't charge you. If you graduate from this program, then great. We'll give you credit and we'll take it off your record. There's a lot of things they can do, but they don't, except little programs all around the state that somebody thought was important. So one of the things I want to say is nothing I have to say today is especially critical of the people who work in the justice system. They are generally good people who are working their hearts out, want their community to be better, do the best with the training they have. There are exceptions to that. There are bad guys, and there are arrogant leaders, and there are, all the things we usually see in any system. But most of the people are really working hard and doing the best they can and trying. They just don't have the tools. They don't have the policies. They don't have the programs. And they don't have the leadership. So I keep looking for slides that aren't there. Prevention is missing. And where it exists, it's got soft money. It's not nailed down with ongoing recurring funds. So basically, people who work in prevention programs cycle through them because it's not a stable job. Fine. Okay, so what I call choke points are where the system breaks down. They're things that are just a problem. They're fixable problems, and that's the main message I want to deliver is all this stuff can be fixed. It doesn't need to be the way it is. So we have vacancy rates and not enough money. Those are big problems. We have education and professionalization of the workforce. People get lousy training in education in all the justice professions. You go to law school, the only ones, there's lawyers who are well educated when they get out of law school, and then they go to work, and they may or may not get mentoring or development. And there's high turnover rates in lawyers, both in the public defender's office, where they burn out a lot, and in the prosecution, in the district attorney's offices. So there needs to be a big effort to professionalize the justice system. The training for cops is 30 years out of date. It's like 1990s. That's where the cops are. They're in the 1990s. And if you think about where we are now, that means the entire law enforcement workforce is out of date. Everybody in it. Their training has always been out of date as long as they've been working. There are some sheriffs and police chiefs who send people back to school and get them some extra training, but by and large, everybody's undertrained. Now, if you evidence, for those of you who watch cop shows and various things on TV, you know how science-based evidence is? So what kind of evidence are law enforcement people coming up with if they were trained in the 1990s? It's pretty bad. So what do prosecutors, how do they make cases if the evidence isn't very good? They don't. They can't get the labs, the state labs are always chronically behind in doing tests, blood tests, and rape kits and things like that. So the whole system is out of date and behind, and you can't make cases and convict people of major crimes without the evidence. So that's a big deal. There's very little data in the system. You can't define problems without some information. There are required data reporting rules, laws, but most agencies don't follow them consistently. So, and no one enforces they're being followed. So you have this spotty picture of data. The Legislative Finance Council, which is the policy staff that support the legislature, they actually collect what data they can get, and it's like pulling teeth. They have a hard time pulling it together. They generate some really interesting reports, and all of their reports support the findings that I'm putting forth. There's lots of stuff going on around the country that could be imported into New Mexico. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have done it elsewhere. But there's nobody to go look and find it. So great ideas out there, which you could look up on. You can Google them. Some of the Indivisible SOS people got on Google and looked up all this stuff, and we asked people, do you know about this? And they went, no. Nobody has the job to look for anything that is being done elsewhere that might be helpful. There's very little standard setting. There is the potential to create authority to do diversion, more diversion prevention alternatives. But nothing's been done in any law in decades to create that authority. So, and then there should be prevention throughout the system. So these are all choke points, and we have proposed legislation that addresses every single one of them that's pretty concrete and straightforward. It is not rocket science. There are solutions. Next slide, please. So House Memorial 13, which I came here to ask you folks to support. I think it's going to pass, has a good shot at passing, but you never know. It's a place to start. What we're doing right now is it's not just about legislation. We're looking at a citizens' initiative to change the conversation about crime and start getting people to look at the justice system as a system, to understand the parts of it, how they relate to each other, how they're supposed to work, and what you can do about it. So it's a very different concept to the way in which people talk about crime, penalties, new crimes, how tough is somebody? There's like a competition to be tough on crime. And what we're trying to do is to get people to think about changing the system, modernizing it, moving from the late 20th century into the middle of the 21st century without going through everything in between. So let's figure out what needs to get done and come up with ideas about it and put new legislation, new funding in place, and let's get the system that we all deserve and a model system for the country, because fundamentally law enforcement and criminal justice is a local thing. The Constitution leaves it to the states under the 10th Amendment, and the states have mostly left it to communities. And so you have sheriffs, and you have police departments, and you have judicial districts which cover a little bit larger area, but you vote for a DA for your district, and you don't know what the hell the DA next door is doing, and neither does your DA. And so nobody knows what anyone else is doing, and you have this patchwork of stuff that it's entirely inconsistent. Much of it is discretionary and up to local leaders, and nobody oversees it or watches it to see what the outcome of it is. And you can all see what the outcome is when you look at crime statistics. It's not very good. So we don't have to have that. And we could move things forward. So but you can't do it all at once. There's not a magic bullet. There's not one solution or two or three. There's a whole bunch of things that have to happen. So what HM 13, House Memorial 13, does is it is the first step to create a task force, a bipartisan task force that will address an authority to do ongoing planning and oversight for the justice system as a whole, not for the pieces of it, but for the system as a whole. We'll look at its performance. And will generate a 10-year plan, probably needs a 30-year plan, but 10 is a nice round number that isn't too outrageous. So the idea is to have a 10-year plan to create a funding source. If any of you followed the behavioral health legislation that was passed in 2025, you know they created a fund of a couple $2 billion that's invested, and the funding, the money that comes off of that invested fund is going to be used to build behavioral health services all around the state. There's a state body that oversees the planning out of the Supreme Court. And there's a planning process in each of the 13 judicial districts. And they're all linked together, and funding there's a process for requesting funding. What I'm modeling the proposal for criminal justice on is the same idea. There needs to be state-level oversight. There needs to be some local planning so people locally can identify their needs and the things that they want. And those can be linked together so that they can be addressed efficiently and financed with this money that's thrown out by a fund. So the idea of Memorial 13 is to create a fund, identify the size of that fund, to create an oversight body and identify where it is and who's in it, and then to come up with the first legislation. This is a really aggressive process. It's like a 6-month task force that will produce recommendations to the 2027 legislature and to the new governor. We know the old governor isn't going to do anything, not interested in any of this. However, everything's been given to the Haaland campaign. And I'm meeting with the Haaland campaign policy people later this week, actually, to talk about how she can launch a criminal justice platform. She doesn't have one. It's not her thing. She doesn't really come out of a background where she's had to deal with criminal justice systems. So we're going to try to give her a plan, a platform, coach her, give her a way to talk back to Sam Bregman, which I'm pretty sure she can do. She's pretty feisty, but she doesn't know what to say. And he's pretty slick, and he likes to be intimidating with his cowboy hat and everything. When he comes up to talk to me, this is my first introduction. Hi, Sam. Keep your distance. He's very, very overbearing, kind of misogynistic kind of guy. So she needs to have a strategy to deal with him that works for her, because she's no wimp, but she's a little woman, kind of, and she doesn't know criminal justice. So we're working on trying to strengthen and put together a campaign strategy for her to be able to fight in the primary. So this is a project. This is going to go on. And what we need is for people to get interested and start talking about it to everybody that they talk to about political things. Because when people complain in this town, when people complain about crime, you can give them something else to think about. Okay? A systems project is positive. It's building something. It's solving real problems we can identify with. It's not just, oh, poor me, I'm a crime victim. And a lot of I feel for crime victims, but I mean, there's just a lot of blaming and finger pointing, and nothing that leads to any productive direction. So when I talked to my Republicans that I converted this morning, they said, oh, this is such a big thing. How are we going to do it? And I said, well, I'm giving you 10 years. If we all get together, we can do at least part of it. Yeah, maybe. And, I got a mix of reactions, but they all agreed to support it. I have one more in a corner tomorrow. So that's the core idea here. How am I doing on time? The core idea here is to change the conversation, to look at the justice system. Look at the justice system as a system, to understand that all of these things, first responders, 911, cops, DAs, public defenders, courts, corrections, parole, probation, all these things are interrelated. And if people don't know what the other parts of the system are doing, they're going to screw it up. And people fall right through the middle. They don't work together. They don't coordinate. They're not trained. So there's a lot that can be done. It actually isn't rocket science. We don't have to build a moonshot project. It's not that kind of money. It's less expensive than fixing the behavioral health system. A lot. But it has to be legislated and implemented, carried out, followed, evaluated, and such. The task force, I have been talking with the Legislative Finance Committee staff, and they support the building of the budget for the state. They support the legislature. They have really the only policy expert staff in the whole state, with a few exceptions, who work full-time. There aren't enough of them, but they want to do this. They really, really want to do it. I called them up and I said, if I pass something that requires a task force, will you take the lead and do it? We'll help you with whatever you need, but will you do it? And they said, absolutely. And I said, do you need money to do it? They said, well, money's always helpful, but we'll do it no matter whether there's money or not. So we have them on board. They want to do it. And so the apparatus is there. The Speaker of the House is interested. A lot of the Democrat leadership is interested in both the Senate and the House. I got a lot of advice from people on doing this. So it's been an interesting process. It's my second time through legislating and doing it from scratch. But you learn each time, you sort of learn more. And when you are trying to do stuff like this, people want to help you. So for any of you who have aspirations to try to fix something, it's not that hard. You just have to be kind of determined and stick with it. But I get help. Peter Worth will send me, he will do just about anything to get me help. And he does not support a lot of the things that I support, but he will always help me when I go and ask him. Rena Shapansky is always there to help. The Mimi Stewart, who lives around here somewhere, she lives in this area. She will always help. In fact, she told me that I'm 2 years younger than her, and I had damn well better not retire before she does. So you form relationships with people when you're really trying to get something done. They respect what you're trying to do. They want to help you do it, and then they show up when it matters most of the time. So that's a positive message to encourage those. I've been an advocate for most of my life and been part of organizations like this, where I do put my Indivisible T-shirt on and my blue jeans and go out and march and carry signs and all of that. But there are some things you can't change unless you get into the works, into the middle of it, and try to learn enough to find solutions. And I want to say that I have, with all the law enforcement people I've talked to and all the justice system, the judges and the prosecutors, the lawyers, the paralegals, all those people, they're not progressives. Some of them are, but most of them are not progressives. They're kind of regular people. Most of them aren't particularly politically involved. But they actually tell you from the heart what they want, what they need, how they feel, if you ask them. And nobody asks them. The first meeting I had with about 120 law enforcement people from all over the state, what they said was, this is so much fun. Can you do this every couple of months? We never get to talk to each other. No one ever says, let's talk to each other. We're learning from each other. And, they had a great time. And what we were doing was like part of it, but what they were into was sharing ideas and making connections. They don't get to do that. That's true across the board. The people who run prisons don't have any clue what happens in any other prison than the one they work in. They don't know what happens in any other state. They don't know what choices they could have to do anything any differently. And no one's coming out and saying, here's 5 choices. What do you think? Nobody does that here. And that's the kind of thing that really needs to happen more. So there's a bigger role for those of us advocates. If you work in a system, if you have kids in a system, talk to the people who work in it. Listen to what they have to say. Ask them questions. What works, what doesn't work. I talk with my hands, so this is an ethnic problem, using a microphone. Anyway, I would just, it's worthwhile to do that kind of interaction. You meet different kinds of people. I spent years learning how to speak Republican. It turns out to be really useful now. It's not my favorite language, but it works. It's useful. When you show up looking like this and you talk Republican, Republicans talk to you like you're one of them. They tell you their problems. They tell you how they feel. They tell you all kinds of stuff. I have all the sorts of inside baseball about what goes on in the legislature because people just start talking. And that also is very useful. So let me stop. There was another picture. Did the picture slides go away? This picture just shows you the system. It's got all of these pillars, and they are isolated. The pillars went away. There we go. So the pillars are really isolated from each other. There's virtually no communication between these components of the system. Let's go to the pie chart, because it just basically says nothing happens the way it's supposed to. So diverted to a program, released without consequences. That white slice is released without consequences. The gray is prosecuted. So it just tells you concretely that all the things the system is supposed to do don't happen, except incidentally. Next slide, and then that's the last. Well, let that one go. Go to the graphic. Yeah. Okay, so here's the system when you look at what relates to what. It's complicated. I'm not going to walk you through it, but basically when you study all these core functions of criminal justice system, you find they're all interrelated legally with authorities, jurisdictions, who goes where, and you see all those arrows that go back out are how people fall through the cracks in the system and end up back in the community, or they end up reoffending and going back in the system, which is what the red arrow conveys. And so when you start asking why, talking to the people in the courts and the DAs and all these various people, and put this picture in front of them and ask, why do people fall out? They tell you. They tell you. You can write it all down. It's all in the 52-page report that I have, which you're welcome to have and use if you want. So I have not shown that to Sam Bregman. So right now, I'm taking sides. I'm on the Deb Haaland team. I've had many encounters with Sam, and he does not like me. I ask hard questions, and he doesn't like women who talk back. Just does not like women who talk back. So we're not going to be good buds. If he ends up winning the primary in some way, I may approach him with this. But right now, this is going to the Haaland team for her campaign. It's all through the legislature. So all the materials, the big paper, there's summaries, there's bullet points, there's a whole bunch of documents I've prepared for people who don't like to read and need things shortened, not quite down to TikTok level, but because I'm not capable of doing that. But basically, that's all. It's gone to the legislature. Lots of people have it. It will get spread around a lot more and socialized and discussed a lot more, and you can have anything you want to put into your system. But HM 13 is likely to come up in the House Judiciary Committee this week, as soon as Wednesday, or probably more likely Friday, Saturday, or next Monday. So letters to the Judiciary Committee support HM 13 would be appreciated, and then it will go to the House floor. So questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah, I have bullet points, and I have that summarize it. It's not that long. It's about 6 pages of legislative doublespace. What it says is that the Legislative Finance Council will create a task force with help from the bipartisan leadership of the House and Senate. And that task force will have no more than 30 people. It will have stakeholders and citizens, all kinds of people involved, and they will determine in a 6-month period a form of oversight and planning, an authority, and the authority that body needs, a fund with some sort of starting out amount to finance the changes that need to happen, and the highest priority legislation that needs to be passed in 2027. And that report will go to the judiciary committees, to the finance committees, and to the new governor before the 2027 legislature meets. That's what it does.
Thank you, Rachel. Couple quick questions. Do you have a sense of what the money's going to be? Yeah. How much?
So maybe $1 billion to start, maybe a couple billion. They have been doing these funds now for almost everything. So.
Okay. And secondly, you talked about a 52-page report. What report is that, and where is that?
It's a report that I wrote. These graphics come out of it. It describes the criminal justice system and all of its components and how they work. And then it has a legislative agenda, a 10-year legislative agenda of all the things you can do to fix.
We like reports. Can you send it to
I will send it to you.
So how do we help promote this sort of agenda on a place like next door, where people just want to be mad at the judges who let the people go, whatever? I mean, I'm wondering how we can direct the conversation in a broader way. I'm not really thinking it's going to be very effective, but at least give us a starting point.
I spent part of the weekend writing an op-ed for the New Mexican, and we'll be putting op-eds in other papers. Of course, people who are on Nextdoor may not read newspapers. A lot of people don't read newspapers anymore. A lot of people don't read. I have no clue about anything in social media. So I need those of you who live in social media to come up with ideas and we can brainstorm. This is just on the front end. Right now we're trying to get the legislature and policy people to get the basic idea, and then we branch out and include the broader community. So I'm completely open. I write a lot, and I can write for all kinds of audiences, and I can write not TikTok, but I can write short policy stuff and longer analytic stuff. But I need a bigger team and ideas from people about what would work. And you know, I'm a trial and error person. Try something and see what happens. And then if it doesn't work, try something else. Learn from it. So this is going to be an ongoing thing, and we can all of you can participate with ideas and with trying things out. I talk to my neighbors. I walk my dog. Okay, my dog is the best form of political socialization that I have ever met, because she's a really friendly dog. She's a little corgi. And everybody wants to pet the corgi. And so it's like, what are your politics? You can't pet my corgi if you're a Republican. During COVID, I wouldn't let anyone near my dog if they weren't vaccinated. And, you know, people laugh. They don't really think I'm serious. I'm serious. But you don't think about, I talk to people in lines at grocery stores. I will see something and say, gee, what do you think? and get into a conversation just loud enough for the people around to hear. What happens when you ask someone with a Trump sign or button, why do they like Trump, is that the room everybody clears out backs about 10 feet away, but they watch because they want to know if you're going to get into a fight, right? And then I get very funny about it and friendly, and what happens is I can get somebody into a conversation, and it's, well, why do you feel that way? What happened to you that made you feel that way? Made you so angry? You have this conversation, and then people get curious, and they come closer, and they listen, and sometimes they join the conversation. And I experiment with this. Airports are a great place to do this kind of thing.
We have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
First off, I'd like to know how to reach you if we want to learn more. And there are also a couple bills came forward that Nicole Chavez was supporting, and I wanted to know if they were worth looking at or if they're just to say that they're pushing something. Yeah, she is. She's a Republican. But I'm willing to, whatever is a good policy, I'm willing to look at. So I was curious if you've seen any policies you wanted to support.
I have lots of opinions, and I'm happy to give Raylan information to get in touch with me or contact me. Nicole Chavez, her son was killed, and she is a victim advocate. And a lot of her bills have to do with victim advocacy, and that's great. I have no problem. That's not Republican. That's just human. So she's really a very, very nice woman, and with a reasonable brain. She asked me if HB 9 and the immigrant stuff would have a negative impact on the criminal justice system, and I said it won't have any impact at all. And she said, okay, I'll take your word for it. So once you establish a relationship with people, all the rules, all the sort of adversarial stuff gets suspended, and you can have a really human conversation with somebody. So I would read her bills and see what they say. I think her victim advocate stuff is fine.
It seems like Raul Torres was doing this sort of thing when he was DA. He was looking other places, bringing new programs, going around talking about it, had some terrific stuff going, and I thought that would continue when he was Attorney General. But lately he's having to spend all his time suing Trump people and pushing back and protecting the state. But there's a guy who may not have a job right now who maybe could work on this, and that's Ubayas, who was a federal prosecutor, and he could go work in Raul's office and do this stuff maybe.
I have talked with Raul Torres and his staff about all of this. It isn't consistent with his political ambitions, let me put it that way. So he is a super smart guy, and he is capable of doing really great things. But his number one, as far as my opinion, his number one objective is himself. And he is getting money from the state to do all the lawsuits, and he has to do all the lawsuits against Trump because all the other Democratic attorneys general are, and that's good for his career. So if something is good for his career, he does it. But he doesn't follow up on most citizen complaints. There's a lot of things that his office does not do that they're supposed to do. There were a lot of things when he was in DA that he should have done that he didn't do. So, go figure. I have the same concerns about Bregman. He's really smart and he knows how to do a lot of things, but he's pretty much about himself as far as I can tell. So the priority is always, what does this get me? When I talk with Raul's staff, they said, well, we love your ideas, but we're not sure that they get us anywhere. They were pretty transparent about it, quite frankly. They're really young, and they don't really think about what they're saying to who and who they're saying it to. But yeah, I think ambitions and egos drive a lot of things.
Rachel, thank you. Rachel does a lot of work at the legislature every single year. She's got a bill tracker that we're following, and thank you for that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Rachel will be back, and we'll support her. And Indivisible SOS up in Santa Fe, this is some of the work they do. Indivisibles around the state are doing work like this, and we're all working to make New Mexico better. And thank you for being here, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Wait, Leandra has something to say.
Okay, sorry. I have, so she was talking, Senator Pope put a Memorials SM9. So I did an op-ed, if you want to share that when it comes out, about PNM getting bought out by Blackstone, and that might be one of our ways to get people to aware of it. It's going to be in the Journal, Taos Magazine, and I think Santa Fe, New Mexican. I'm Leandra Schuler, sorry.
Leandra's a member, and she's been working with Sandy and the Water Warriors and doing a bunch of other stuff. So thank you, Leandra. Appreciate that. We'll see you next week. Thank you.